Hey everyone, Jamie Pate here. Welcome to this video. I have a fun tutorial. We've talked a lot on this channel about embellished clusters. Well, now we're going to make like the nitty-gritty of the embellished cluster. Watch to see what I mean. All right, so you saw in the intro this card that I have recently made, and it's just, I love this card. It's really different, fun, different in terms of maybe what I would make. And you can see, talk about clusters. It's just clusters of florals upon florals with some other little leaves tucked in and a birthday wishes. I super enjoyed making this card. What I want to show you today is how I came about the idea with these flowers. Kind of got this paint wash, maybe watercolor sort of vibe. So let's start from the beginning so I can share with you just exactly how I did that. Actually, what I do really fast is I show you a couple comparisons. And this is what I've done. I've made a couple here and I just want to talk really quick about what's going on. First of all, I have done this technique here on watercolor paper on these two, but it's the back side of the watercolor paper. This is the textured side, and I turned it over because I wanted the smooth side. And this one here I did with Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. It's actually not a great comparison because I realized after I did it, it's two different inks, but you kind of get the idea. This really gives a really soft, and obviously works with the watercolor paper, watercolor vibe. And I think I prefer these. I'm a super big fan of Vicki Boutin's Foundations paper. It's just in this particular instance, I think I prefer the watercolor paper. And just talk about that for a moment. I just grab it at my local big box grocery store. And then it's in a big pad. It's not terribly expensive. I like to play with that watercolor paper just for ideas. It's a great foundation for art journaling, but it's also a great foundation for these sunshine blooms. Okay, let's start from the beginning. What I've done here, I just have two for now. I can cut more because my idea is just to make a whole bunch because I have a layout in mind. I also wanted to make that's been inspired by this card. And so I have cut, these are 2.5 by 2.5 squares of the watercolor paper. And I'm going to start with the sunshine blooms, and I'm going to use the outline first. And you can see the outline is sort of colored. That's because I am using an archival ink, and the archival inks like to stain these photopolymer stamps. I'm okay with it because here's the thing. These stamps are worker bees for me. And so I'm okay if they don't end up being perfect when I'm done. It's not about being perfect for me. I know some people in my life should hear that because they think everything is about perfection. I am a recovering perfectionist. Thank you very much. But in this instance, I'm okay that my stamps don't live to be clear again. It's okay. It's okay. Okay, I'm actually going to leave that on this stamp block. And what we're going to do next is the middle of this. And so it can be a little tricky. And so I have a trick for lining the solid stamp back up with the outline stamp. And how I like to go about it is I like to find the most unusual little bloom. And so maybe you can see this right here, how it's like it's almost like a mitten. That's what I want to say. It's almost like a mitten. And there's its mitten corresponding little part right there. I'm just going to go ahead and sit that on I'm going to set the stamp on my pre-inked image just so I know where it is. Because I'm going to go ahead and pick it up with another different stamp block. I want to do that again. I didn't get that even on there. And you can use a larger stamp block. This one just pretty much just fits perfectly. And I wanted to keep this one on its block, so that's why I'm opting for another one. Okay, next thing we're going to do is use a Distress Oxide to create the fill. I'm opting for Evergreen Bough because I think right now it's one of my most favorite colors ever. And here's kind of what I played with quite a bit to kind of figure out what I was going to like for the look I was going for. It took a little bit. I had a friend here who was doing some work, and she says, boy, that took you a long time to make one card. And I'm like, well, I was working on the technique. The technique of it took me a minute to kind of figure it out. And what's interesting is every time I do it, it's always a little different. And so this is a great way to sort of embrace imperfection, if I'm talking to anybody in particular out there. Okay, so I'm not going to lay that down yet. I'm going to actually grab my Distress sprayer. I'm going to go just off camera here because I don't want to get my surface wet. I don't want to get that all wet. I'm just going to spritz it twice. And I went a little heavy. I probably shouldn't have gone so heavy on that, but it's also okay. What I like to do next is blot some of that color off. Okay. That, if you did that on another piece of watercolor paper, that could make for some really fun creative time, just saying. And so because I had this turned on its side, I'm kind of moving my color around a little bit. I'm just going to get that lined up back there with that mitten flower petal part and press. And then the thing that you can do at this point is take your cloth and kind of dab it. If you find that some of your color isn't as fluid as you would like, oops, there's another color on that. Let me clean that off really quick. Let's see here. Okay, I have a little extra color on there I don't really want, but it's going to be okay. Then you can just come in here with a watercolor brush and just kind of smooth out those lines that you decided. I don't quite want it that splotchy, but maybe you do. And one of the things I really do like on here, and let me show you, I think, well, this one's a good example here. This flower here, I actually like that the color isn't reaching to the very end of the petal. It's really organic for me. That's kind of what happened here as well. The color's not reaching all the way to the end of the petal. Now, if you want it to be that way, then don't use so much water is my suggestion. Maybe use a lighter color of ink if you want to still get that sort of ethereal look going on for you on that. Okay, so at this point, there's also a Sunshine Blooms die cut set. And so this is the large, I don't know, maybe daisy. And you got to kind of do the same thing here as well. You got to kind of figure out, all right, where does this line up? I mean, you can go round and round, which sometimes that's exactly what I do, is I just go round and round. And then sometimes I just find it. I'm not finding it presently, in case you're wondering. What is she doing? What is Jamie doing? I don't think she actually knows what she's doing. And you know what? Here's the thing. That's mostly true. Okay, I have found where all the loops to those petals match. And so do myself a favor. I'm going to grab a little bit of mint tape here and hold it in place. And so the beauty of doing this is that you can just make a whole bunch at one time. And then you just have a whole bunch like for this to do here. I will tell you, there are 3 of the large flowers that I'm making right now. There are 3 of the medium flower. This one right here, that's what I'm calling the medium flower. And then there is 3 of this little tinier flower. There are 2 of the leaves, and it's the same concept with the leaves as what I'm doing with the floral pieces. And so now we have, here's what I was talking about, the nitty gritty, the heart of an embellished cluster is making the elements to create said clusters, right? So that's what we have here. Something that's kind of fun to do with this particular scoring tool is you can come and pull the petals up through that middle part, and it just gives them a nice little curve. I love doing that. I think I could do this all day. Then you just have a great flower. It's got a little bit of dimension because we pulled up the edges, and then it's got some fun color to it because of how we went about stamping it. All right, let me do another one for you. Okay, now you don't have to use this size piece. I just like working with smaller sizes, and because I'm wanting to make quite a few of these. I just want to have sort of all the same size of something made up. I'm going to probably go ahead and move over to the side a little bit. I could put a smaller flower on here. And for now, we're just going to do this. Okay, so we're doing the same thing. We did our outline. We're now going to come in here with, I didn't do it this way, did I? We're going to come in here with this medium flower. There's a flower here that's kind of swooshing a little bit more on its own, so it's a little more obvious in this instance. Did I get the right swooshing one? Maybe I didn't. Maybe it's this one here. There we go. Okay, that's it, I think. There we go. That's it. Isn't that fun? That was fun, huh? So I'm going to go like this and turn that and then stamp. Okay. Same thing as before, just tapping on the evergreen bough color. I'm not terribly worried about getting it perfectly on there. I will say there's something on my stamp there, so I want to take that off. Okay, I think I got it. I'll just go and touch that up again. And then again, 2 spritzes. I'm going to do it off the camera. I didn't go quite as heavy that time on my spritzing. And you can kind of tell, oop, I might actually. She feels like she needs to give it a little bit more. And because of the way I lined up my stamp, I'm all ready here to give that its impression. This one I didn't. Okay, so there's a good example of playing with how much water you want to use. So I probably could have gone a little heavier with the water and when I was spritzing it, but I'm still getting the same idea here. Okay, I'm gonna blot this so it's a little drier, and we'll take it. Let me see. I gotta find the dye for that. I already have it out. And we're going to figure out again where that goes. I feel like there's like a double flower thing going on over here. So I'm going to do that. And yeah, pretty happy with how that is lined up, and run it through my machine. And then here's our next flower. You can leave it flat. You can bend it with your fingers. You can come in here with a little tool and bend up your petals. I love the dimension of the flower, so that's why I like to go do that. And there's our next flower. So that's about how easy it is to do these. And you notice here I have the middle done, so it's the same idea. I have the little middle, yeah, that's what I'm calling it. I've got scorched timber here. Just gonna kind of pat, pat, pat. I'm gonna spritz it. And see if that is, nope, not quite to my liking. Okay, and then I'm just going to come in here and give a little bit of color there to the middle of the flower. If it's too much water for you, you can dab off the water. You can do it again. I kind of like that. I'd like it to kind of dry like that as well. It doesn't need to be perfectly in the middle. And that's how I did all the other middles on here as well. Some I did, some I didn't, some I left. It was just kind of whatever. Okay, so the moral of the story is to make a bunch of flowers. If you're going to make a couple, make a bunch. What I did here was also kind of took this inspiration and added it to this layout here. And while this card opens up and all the flowers follow, it would have been fun to kind of keep a couple flowers here on the back part. And that's what I did here on this layout. And actually, you can kind of tuck right under this flower a little bit. But this can come up, and there's a cluster still of embellishments, some that we made, right, with making the flowers. And I have plenty of room here for writing the story for this layout, which is just a single photo layout. But it was a pretty special story, and I just really loved having all these pieces together to make this come together. So I hope you'll try making these, I don't know, faux watercolor flowers too, and just have fun and enjoy the process. And there you go. I'll see you in the next video.